Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the In Alignment podcast. It's been a minute, guys. It's been a minute, but we haven't forgotten about you. For those watching us on YouTube, it's been a sunny day today, so I'm kind of glowing with oil. This is all coconut oil, guys. I swear, I promise. Anyways, for those tuning in from any other platform, audio platform, thank you so much. Actually, thank you to everybody for your ongoing support, for all the love, for everything, just for the presence and for being here with us. So, anyways, if you are watching us on YouTube, please share and subscribe the love. Let's all spread some positivity. And if you're also listening on YouTube, on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, anywhere, just spread the good news, man. Spread the good news. So anyways, today, as you'll see in the description, I thought I would give a little intro to plant medicine. So please bear in mind that I haven't studied plant medicine. And so if you're looking for something like the newer path or like the scientific explanation to this, this is not the episode, to be quite honest. My goal for this episode, I just want to take you along my journey. I want to take you along my journey, and especially for people who might be in similar situations I was in, or are thinking about it, or whatever it is, however you connect to this episode, right? However, because it is something that I have discovered a newfound passion to it, I definitely am connecting with like different people in my circle to see if I can interview them, like people who are who have been focused in a particular field within the psychedelic world, and especially with plant medicine. So I kind of want to take you along my journey and discovering what that all means for me, what it can mean for you, and then yeah, so that we may, if you're thinking about trying psychedelic plant medicine, you might be a little bit more informed. Okay, so don't take this as the whole truth and nothing but the truth. Just like anything else on this podcast, is really sharing, is being a particular mirror, a particular conscious mirror that basically allows you to hear things and then, kind of relate to them, or see how you relate to them, see how you feel about them, just to further your own human experience. My intention is really to ease you into this whole human experience. I honestly want everybody to just thrive, because, if one person thrives and everybody thrives, the whole planet will thrive. Every other dimension will thrive. We will all thrive. We're all in this together, guys, okay? Anyway, so let me go ahead with maybe a slight definition of what psychedelic plant medicine is. So, okay, so personally for me, plant medicine is just like the word says, like anything that is plant-based to kind of assist your healing or assist, your everyday life. Every plant on this earth has some type of property, whether it's poisonous, or whether it's like healing properties or whatever it is. But even like the most poisonous plants also have their own, healing properties. But for the sake of this episode, I'm going to focus on psychedelic plant medicine. And so today I want to talk about cannabis, magic mushrooms, also known as psilocybin, ayahuasca, and I might touch on iboga, but iboga, I don't have or rather my personal experience with iboga is not quite like, most people, or most people in my circle that I've heard of, right? All right, so psychedelic plant medicine. So let's start with cannabis. I started smoking cannabis when I was 13. I feel like I've mentioned this in one of the other episodes. But the reason why I didn't have any particular, you know, need, or not a need, but I didn't have any particular reason to smoke cannabis. I feel like it was just like something that was kind of there. And it was funny because when I was in seventh grade, I used to smell it. That's the first time I at least consciously smelled weed. And, there was like a specific exit that belonged to the smokers or the potheads, as we called them back then. And you could always smell weed. And it was one of those smells that I hated. And I was like, ew, this is so nasty. Doesn't smell good. Like, what the heck is this, right? And I remember one day my friend told me, oh, that's weed. And I was like, oh my God, what the heck is weed? So anyways, now ask me how within 12 months I was like the biggest pothead ever. I don't know, but it happened. So again, it was just like, I think one day at high school, I was offered to try it and I was like, I don't know. I was in the mind state that I was like, yeah, whatever, let me just try it. I tried it and I feel like because of the way that it was introduced to me, it was in a good setting. I was surrounded with people that that I knew, that I felt comfortable with, that they were friends, and we just wanted to kind of hang out. Like nobody was like trying to escape anything. It was just like a fun thing to do, right? So my memory around cannabis was a good one. And so I feel that's kind of like the state of mind in which I also wanted to approach cannabis. And but so that's like in eighth grade. So when at the end of my eighth grade, that's when my parents were going through their separation, and so we actually moved to Ottawa with my brother and I and my mom. And so now I am in this new environment. And at the time, we didn't know that our parents were separated. We're getting separated. So my mom had told us that we're going to Ottawa for 1 year. And so, nobody was trying to make friends here. I was like, this is like, I'm only here for 1 year. I'm just going to do my thing. And then I'm going to go back to my friends because I never liked the city of Ottawa. Okay. It just has this very stagnant energy. And it's like, I just could not explain it. Even like just like driving, going to Ottawa, the moment there was this, I don't even know where it is to be honest, but there's a moment on the highway where you're kind of like in between Quebec and Ontario, closer to Ottawa, that the energy just shifts. And it was like, oh my God, where the heck are we going? So anyways, so with the friends that I made there, I don't remember a single friend who smoked at the time. And so I'm kind of the one who introduced cannabis into that circle of friends. And at the beginning, I guess it was fine, but because the energy was just different. It wasn't something I started to phase out. And what's interesting is that as I was phasing out, my friends started to pick up, on that beautiful habit. But anyways, so just like with alcohol, for me, I was phasing out because one, I realized that cannabis was not bringing me anything that I felt I needed in my life. Like it wasn't emphasizing anything. It wasn't highlighting anything. It wasn't optimizing anything. It was just not bringing anything. Like when I was high, I laughed a lot. And I've always been the type of person who laughs a lot. Like I crack myself up. And when people crack me up, it's just like, I don't know, it's even better. It's kind of like, I wouldn't say increase, but I could see my thought processes, or like it felt like I thought faster, but I didn't get to a different conclusion as I would normally get without being high. So then I was like, well, if it's just going to be faster, then I don't know what the point of this is, Or sometimes, what else did it do? Oh yeah, sometimes I think that was the fun part for me. Sometimes it felt like people were like animated. So because like I used to watch a lot of animes, still do, but at the time I definitely watched a lot more. I feel like maybe that's what my psyche was kind of like wired to see, right, when I was high. And so sometimes it felt like people were just becoming like in and out of like being an anime, and it was like in, out, in, out, in, out. And I thought it was like the most hilarious thing ever. And yeah, aside from that, you know, again, it didn't bring me anything. And I felt like at some point, some people started smoking as an escape, and that completely changed the vibe for me. So I didn't like it. And so I completely stopped. So it took me, I would say, from the moment that I started smoking cannabis, it probably took me a good 4 or 5 years until I stopped smoking weed. Yeah, 13, yeah, around 18, 19, for sure 19, I was like done smoking. And so, yeah, and also the feeling of being high, it always felt like it was just like my head being in a bubble, and I really didn't like it. I was like, well, I kind of felt disconnected to the rest of my body. So I was like, this is not for me. So fast forward to like, I don't know, end of my 20s. um, I have some friends who started, now cannabis, like especially here in Vancouver, cannabis is kind of like just like, I don't know, ordering salad, right? Um, but I guess the I feel like now cannabis is an art. The way that we also have, well, first of all, now it's legal in Canada, but also the way that we've mastered the different strains and how to grow things and how to be like very particular. You can go, it feels like going at a salad bar, like you go to a weed bar, and if you, depending on what you're trying to achieve, someone can prescribe you a specific strain or a specific combo mix, whatever it is, right? So, and I feel like now you also have more chances of finding like really clean cannabis as well. And even people who grow cannabis, they're very passionate about how they grow it. And it's like they take pride in growing cannabis, instead of back in the days, whatever was in my surrounding was more like, if someone was growing it, it was like just to make some money. And so you're trying to cut costs and putting all these, I don't know, like Windex and all these other products, where now it's like organic and this and that with love, and people sing to their plants and whatever it is, because it's all energy. It's really all energy. It's like what you're putting in, what you're going to give out, what people are going to receive, and all that. So it's an art. I find it as like now it has evolved as an art, really. And so then a friend of mine, her thing was to take pills. And then she said to me, she said, do you want to try it? And I was like, nah, smoking weed is not my thing. Weed is not my thing. Cannabis is not my plant medicine. And but she was like, no, this is different. It's a pill, da 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 da. So I gave it a try, because I was like, okay, sure, maybe it might be different. I tried it, still didn't like the high. I didn't like the feeling, and it was like, it's like that moment when it hits and you're like, can I leave already? But then you're in it, so you just have to ride the wave, until it's over. And then maybe a couple years after that, another friend of mine told me, you should try edibles. And I was like, it's still cannabis. But they're like, but you don't know. And I was like, oh, okay, sure. You know what? I don't know. So I tried the edibles. My God, it was even worse for me. It's like, so this is the thing. Okay, let me say what it was for me. So for me, it was just like an endless high, because at least I felt like if you smoke weed, you're high for, I don't know, maybe you might be high for 3, 4 hours max, right? Um, Depending on the amount, depending on your, what do you call it? Not endurance, but tolerance. You might be high for like 3, 4 hours max. But with edibles, for me, it was like, so you feel high and then you're like, oh my God. And you don't even feel it kicking in. Suddenly you just know that you're high and you talk a little bit different, or you just feel it, right? It's not uncomfortable, but you just feel it. You know that you're high. And and then you're aware that you're not high anymore. And you're like, oh, okay. And then you can maintain a conversation either way, right? And then it kicks in again, and you're like, oh, snap, I'm high again. And so it's just like this whole wave of in and out, in and out, in and out. And for me, it was just like endless, which I really didn't like. I didn't like that. Um, and then the whole thing just ended up being like an 8 hours thing. I felt like I was on a shift of highness, being high for 8, 9 hours. And at the end of it, when I was going home with my friend, I was like, dude, I'm done with this. Like, when does it end? It never ends. And so, anyways, now the benefits of cannabis, as far as I've seen it, as far as I've heard, as far as I've maybe experienced it at some point, I know that for a lot of people who have a tendency of overthinking, or people who think very fast, people who are always in their heads. Um, Again, it depends on the type of strain, which you would have to research it. That cannabis can really help people like that to slow down their thought processes, right? And I personally, if I were to do cannabis, I would personally, for the first time, I would personally maybe recommend trying a pill, um, or an no, not an edible, unless that's what you're going for, like the in and out. I know some people like having that break and then being high again, and then for them it's just like a little high and then they have a break and then they're high again. Some people like that. If you're like that, that's great. Not me. And and then yeah, I know some people take it for being more creative. Some people take it to be more present. Some people take it to just kind of relax. So it does have benefits. Now, the thing that I would actually caution is that, for example, I've heard some people say, my friend or this person got mentally ill because of cannabis. The thing is, yes and no. But the thing is, if that's something that has happened to someone, it's not that cannabis made them that way, it's that they were already prone to be that way. And just like any other type of substance, it could be like alcohol, for example. Some people, when they drink alcohol, they become very violent, or they become, very loving, which is the opposite of what their sober personality is, right? Or whatever, however they can be when they're drunk, when they're, when they're drinking alcohol. If they're different from their usual personality, people tend to blame alcohol and be like, yeah, it's the alcohol talking or whatever. That's not it, my friend. You are like that. And it's just like these substances that we take in or ingest or whatever, they do help us, in a way, help us change our state of mind, or a state of consciousness, or a state of awareness. And if you are unaware of, all the things that may be happening in your psyche, especially if you're someone who's always like escaping their emotions, who doesn't face themselves, and who's just been, used to being conditioned a certain way, then yes, absolutely. Anything can happen when your state of consciousness or your state of awareness is changed. So it's not to blame that substance. You already have that. You are already prone to that. And this is just like helping you see what it is. Therefore, I personally believe that even alcohol can be a medicine. Now, do you take medicine every day? No, you don't. But if you're realizing that something is different from your usual, or there's like a discrepancy in behavior, in whatever else, It's a matter of not judging it and just taking a look at it and meditating on it, or like sitting with it and being like, okay, well, where is this discrepancy? Like, why is this happening, right? It's not, I think we're always too quick to judge and be like, oh, this and that and this and that. But again, people, really what I want to encourage everybody is to stop judging. And I know that it's really hard because at the end of the day, the judgments that we have on people are the judgments, the subconscious and sometimes conscious judgments that we have about ourselves. And then we project that onto people. And so if you're doing that, or when people are doing that, you know, we're really not seeing other people for who they truly are. We're seeing through a filtered lens that you see people through the way that you see yourself, you know? And so, anyways, so all that to say that there are benefits to cannabis for sure, and now we know. But there are some things that, you know, I like, that would be my only caution around cannabis so far, or any type of substance. But it's also, again, if you take ownership and responsibility over your own behavior, your own, you know, reactions and actions, it's much easier on your psyche as well to start changing those patterns, right? So instead of saying it was because of the alcohol, it was because of cannabis, or it was because of this drug, or it was because of this friend, or it was because of this person, you know, if you start taking responsibility for everything that you create, everything that you do, without also taking like too much responsibility, you know, and what I mean by that is that when someone does something goes wrong, and you're like, oh my God, it's my fault. No, it's not your fault, okay? You can just be like, okay, well, I have manifested this. What was my contribution to this? What was my psyche like? How was I feeling in that moment? Was I subconsciously expecting for things to go wrong, and it just happened to affect or influence subconsciously this person? But that's like going a bit too deep, right? So anyways, all that to conclude with cannabis, that yeah, that was basically my my interaction with cannabis. Now, ayahuasca. Ayahuasca, I think I have shared about ayahuasca, or at least I've shared my experience with ayahuasca. But here's the thing, guys, that I want to share with ayahuasca. Ayahuasca is a very powerful psychedelic plant medicine. And so I've heard, okay, let's talk about the light stuff and then the darker stuff. So what does ayahuasca, help you, or how can ayahuasca assist you? So personally, what I've seen, what I've experienced, and what I've heard with ayahuasca is that also, just like any other psychedelic, it brings you into a different state of awareness, of consciousness, however you want to call it. And so, but with this plant medicine, oh, and the other thing that I wanted to mention with plant medicine is that just like anything else that surrounds us, everything has their own consciousness. And so when you have something as powerful as ayahuasca that already has a consciousness of its own, you know, I feel like people tend to expect ayahuasca to kind of, or like they approach ayahuasca the same way that they would approach a pharmaceutical. And so, or like even with magic mushrooms, even with psilocybin. And, you know, the reason why I say that is that it's not about the dosage of what you're going to consume. You never know, because it depends, like that plant is already working with you, subconsciously. And so it knows what you need. It knows what you're ready for. And it knows how to best guide you to be the best person that you can be, right? Now, there are a few things to take into consideration. Definitely your environment. Where are you taking these plants? What's surrounding you? So that would basically be also like context, right? And the second is your intention. And even with cannabis, if you haven't already done it, or if you're not doing it, just like try even having an intention before you smoke up or before you take a pill or an edible. have an intention for bringing this plant into you, and really show gratitude for that plant and for all the benefits that it's bringing you, or all the benefits that you hope that it brings you. And if you're trying to achieve something in particular, have that into your intentions, and then ingest or take in that plant, right? So with ayahuasca, that would be one of the cautions that I don't know if they can do ayahuasca on its own, but let's say if you were looking for a retreat, I would strongly recommend, especially if you don't know people who have done it at specific places, I would strongly recommend that you research a few places, and if they have pictures of people that will be part of the ceremonies or whatever, see how you feel. Like, see if someone is looking weird and you're like, I don't know, I have a jive, don't do it. Don't go to that place. Keep looking for it, but keep asking for the perfect retreat to come to you, so that you can find the perfect people and surrounding and the perfect environment that will be good for you, right? And so for me, for example, when I did it, I felt like I wanted a shaman that already comes from that tradition, but someone who has been practicing it for a very long time, because that's whom I felt would better guide me. Now, does that mean that someone who doesn't come from that, or whose origins are not from those practices, cannot guide you? Absolutely not. Again, it's all like, things will talk to you in the way that makes sense to you, for you to find the things that are true to you, right? And so that's why I'm asking, or I'm like encouraging you to have those intentions at heart, right? Don't just go like ayahuasca retreat and then take the first one that comes on Google. No, really invest your time, and make it like a really intention to find the place that, maybe that practices from the heart. Because a lot of people, there's some retreats that are not there to support you. There are some retreats that want to take advantage of people. And again, because you're in an altered state of awareness or consciousness, you are technically more vulnerable. Just like, even for me, when I am doing or conducting hypnosis with my clients, they are in a vulnerable state. And so it's really important for me to build rapport with all of my clients, and to check in like once in a while, because I personally want the best for them. But again, from the side of the retreats, you don't know what they want from you. You don't know. And if you're in a state of vulnerability, then you want to make sure that you're surrounded by people who want the best for you, right? Who have your highest intentions at heart, right? And so that's that's another thing that I would really caution people when they're looking for an ayahuasca retreat. And you know what? If you don't know anybody, please reach out to me. I've been to a retreat, and I know another retreat that you could go to that has the best interests, always, always, always. And that is like, man, the whole team is so loving, and they're just right there to support you, and they want to support you. They want the best for you, right? So another thing with ayahuasca, so basically, so let's say, for example, someone might be wanting, I don't know, let's say something as, I wouldn't say ridiculous, but something high or funky as, I want to be able to see aliens, right? So that's your intention for going to the retreat and experiencing ayahuasca. So again, what happens is that these things are always happening around us. All the dimensions, all the realms of reality, all the timelines, past, present, future, is always happening around us, all at the same time. And I believe that even like quantum physics now can actually prove it. But we are unaware of all these things happening. And so imagine having all these things happening and you don't have an intention, you don't have a context, you don't have anything, you're not guiding your focus. So the moment you come into a space of vulnerability, basically anything can happen because you didn't say what you want. You didn't project your focus onto something in particular, right? So now all these forces are also working with us, and we are working with them consciously, unconsciously, however, whatever is working for your life or in your life, right? And so again, so let's say take this person who wants to see aliens, and this is just like your psyche. It could be your psyche, it could be your ego, could be whatever it is. You're like, I want to do ayahuasca because I need to see aliens. I want to interact more with aliens. And so now you're going to a retreat, you're going to a ceremony. But what you find is that before you can even see aliens, you need to resolve the issues that you have with your parents or with your partner, with your children, with your grandfathers, with whatever. You need to learn about forgiveness, right? Or you need to learn, or you need to get rid of your shame or your guilt or whatever it is. So the medicine is not going to show you aliens, because showing you aliens or enabling that capacity or ability to see aliens is completely irrelevant to your human life at that point, because the whole point is for you to find your way to love and to ease and to be blissful. Nobody came here to be in pain, okay? We all came here to experience love and to co-create in love, with love, abundantly. So if you are stuck with all these other negative, quote unquote, negative emotions, then the medicine is going to do that first. Now, does that mean that you will never see aliens? I mean, it just depends on what you find in your journey. It might be that maybe that was not the time for you, and maybe you can go back a few more times and find, and one day you might be able to see aliens. But all these things are connected. See, it's all like feeling based, energy based. And so if you have one block here, you need to address that one block first, and then you can, slowly move backwards, right? So with ayahuasca, that's the thing that will happen. Now, there are a lot of people who report that they have visions or they have all these wonderful experiences on the medicine. But there are also people who don't have any of these things. They don't experience visions. They barely remember anything. But what you need to know is that the medicine is working through you anyways, right? And you might have to go to the retreat, or you might have to do ayahuasca a few more times before you can get to that level. But if you weren't shown anything, if you don't remember anything, or you didn't feel any type of way, don't think that the medicine is not doing anything. It might be that the medicine is working through you, or is working out some stuff that are so far in your soul history, or whatever your soul baggage is, that it would just be too intense for you to be aware of all of that. Because it's just like, imagine suddenly understanding what creation is based on the limited, understanding that you have now, and based on your belief systems. There's just like too many shocks that would happen to your psyche. And the medicine is not trying to do that. If you're in the right context, you're with the right people, the medicine is not trying to shock you. It's just trying to break you free from all these illusions, from all the things that you have created, all the aches and the dramas and whatever, right? So again, for some people, some people will have really, like in the moment, they will have horrible experiences, quote unquote, horrible experiences, where they might see, really, really dark visions, right? And so again, it's you really have, if you're in the right setting with the right people, you really have to surrender to the whole experience and just go for it, right? And if you're afraid, if you're scared, you can say that to the medicine before you ingest it, or even after you've ingested it, or even if you're like right in the midst of your journey, and just be like, okay, I'm afraid of doing this. I'm afraid of the things that I'm going to see. I'm afraid of the things that I might hear. I'm afraid of whatever may come through this journey, but I trust and I surrender to it. I surrender to it. I surrender to it, and I trust. And that's giving permission to the whole of creation. Anything that might be, it's almost like how do I say this? Like sending echoes of help, right? And then all the different forces that are there to support you, to comfort you, to take care of you, it's just like gives them permission to come and to just do that. And then come there, be there for you, and then just like take you through this whole process. And because everybody is, you know, taking the medicine, at least in the one that I did, everybody's taking the medicine, including the shaman. I don't know if that's the way that every tradition does it, but in the one that I participated in, you know, even the shamans are taking a little bit, enough to just like be in interdimensional, but enough that they can also function and hold space and do whatever they need to do in all these different realms, right? So everybody is connected, and you depending on your journey, again, you might feel that it is like definitely one ecosystem just doing all these things and just like helping itself and healing itself. And it's like, oh, I know that Kani is here, and I know that maybe she might have a little bit more energy, and this person, oh, I know that Paul came and he needs energy, so let me use Kani's energy to heal Paul. And oh, and then this person needs to make this sound because I know that when this person makes this sound, it will I don't know, it might trigger the devil into this other person, and I need to hear that so that I know exactly what to heal or what to do with that, right? So it's just like, it's just such a beautiful process, to be honest. Whether you did in whatever levels of consciousness or awareness that you are experiencing it, it's absolutely a beautiful experience. Now, the darker side of it is that just like with really anything, and now it depends. Okay, so from my perspective, whether you meditate, whether you're doing psychedelics, whether you're just wanting to change, and you know, you're doing something like, as I don't know, you're reading a book, like a self-development book. If you're reading the book and you're not doing anything about it, then you know, you're just reading a book, right? And nothing's going to change in your life. It's not having all this information that is going to help you, or that is going to help like assist you in your evolution. It's really the integration of the things that we take in, and the changes that we integrate, or the changes that we start, you know, recalibrating to, that allows us to break cycles, or like to evolve and to change and to grow, right? So even more so with psychedelic, I would say, because it just brings you so out of yourself, so out of your own bubble, that when you come back to the bubble that you have created thus far, if you don't integrate, I think it can really be challenging. It can really be challenging because you really need a structure. You need a foundation where you can kind of like explode out and then come back onto your foundation and be like, oh, okay, well, you know, I built my foundation with wood, but maybe I want cement, or maybe I want to fortify this, and you start rebuilding, or you start building something else, or whatever, right? So I have heard some cases where some people passed away either during the ceremony or after the ceremony. Now, my thoughts on this, my understanding of this, and what I've seen in my meditation is this. First of all, we'll have to address the whole death thing, okay? And I will record a separate podcast on that, because that's like a whole thing. Second, so this is the thing about death, okay? One thing that is for sure, everybody is going to die, okay? So we need to get over ourselves, or at least make peace with it. The moment that you are born, you know that you're going to die, okay? But there is so much conditioning and so much programming, depending on the culture, depending on where you come from, depending on all your belief systems, that kind of make you afraid of dying, or like you shy away from death, or like everything. I don't know, we have such a skewed perspective of what death is. Now, from my experience, not that I'm saying that I'm Jesus, that I, you know, died and came back into my human form, but I've had, hold on, I've had two near-death experiences that I can right now recall. If not three, I know for sure two. And but also from hearing or reading or seeing, like watching all these other reports, right? So when you're on the brink of death, they say that you see your whole life, what has become, like it just flashes before you in like a movie, right? And then you can make a choice, like, do you want to stay on Earth or do you want to transition, right? And so here's the thing. Through my meditations, through all these experiences, the psychedelics and whatever, when we transition, like it's first of all, being here as a human is a choice. Although sometimes it may not feel like it, it's definitely a choice. Nothing within creation forces you to come here and be human or have a human experience. Absolutely nothing, right? We are conditioned to feel and to feel and believe otherwise, okay? The other thing that you have to know is that you absolutely have free will of everything that you create. And again, things are made that we are conditioned and programmed to feel that we don't have any free will and not to recognize our free will. But in every millisecond of your life, nanosecond of your life, you have a choice and you have free will, okay? So now on that basis, when you're in these altered state of mind, it might become clearer what you have created. And so you might be more aware that maybe you don't want to continue. You no longer want to continue, on the path that you have created, or maybe you might realize that, you know what, you're tired, this whole human experience is BS, and you're like, I'm checking out, this is too heavy, or I've done, or, oh yeah, I remember that this is exactly what I wanted to do. I've completed my mission, so this is when I want to leave. Now, for the person who's leaving, they're not leaving in pain or like, oh my God, this is the end of the world. It's always more painful for the people who left, who stayed behind. For us who have to experience someone else's death, someone else's transition, someone else's departure, it's harder for us than it is for them. And so one thing that I've learned through my meditation is that the soul knows pain. The soul knows no pain. So if someone passes away during a ceremony or after a ceremony, it could be, I'm not saying that that's what it is all the time, but it could be that, that's what they have, well, for sure that's what they've decided as a soul. But we don't know, like, we don't know exactly, we're not within their experience to be like, oh yeah, I'm connecting this and that, and yeah, this is exactly why they passed away, or this is exactly why they died. However, with that said, again, for me, one of the things that is really important is integration, because I do believe that if someone has the proper support or has support after, all these huge awakening, experiences, I honestly feel like a soul might decide to stay a bit longer. Like, let's say if they were prone to just like transition, because being human is not easy. It's not an easy task, but it's also one that can be very enlightening. It can be like quite blissful. But again, it just depends on your soul baggage. It depends on what you've been up to, the drama and the chaos, and that you have created, that you're still creating in multiple lifetimes or in multiple like timelines or whatever. There's just like so many aspects to these things that you never know what is what, or what is going to make you click a certain way, right? And so, but I feel like, and you guys can correct me if you've had these experiences, I feel like there's a lack of proper support post these experiences. I know for me, for example, if I didn't have the sensitivity that I have, if I didn't have the abilities that I have, if I didn't meditate, I honestly don't know how I would have, you know, peacefully integrated my experience. And my experience was amazing, too amazing even, right? And so if someone like me went through that and I felt like I didn't have like the right support to integrate, to understand everything that happened, I can only imagine like someone who's went like through hell, or um, someone whose world was like, you know, completely open, like so open that now you're coming back and you're like, wow, like this earth is shit, you know? And it's not, it's just what you have created is shit, you know? But the medicine showed you your potential, what you're able to create. And it wants you to create that. It wants you to create a world like that for yourself and for other beings, for everything within creation. But again, it's your choice. You can be like, okay, I'm going to do that, but not as a human, you know? Or no, I still have some drama that I created and I don't want to be human. I want to experience being a dog instead. I want to do this, or I need a break, or whatever it is, right? It's your choice, man. It is your choice. So yeah, so just be aware of that. Now that if that, you know, if that feels scary, I mean, well, one, personally, I think that it shouldn't. But if you feel scared, maybe you want to meditate on it a little bit more before undertaking these experiences. But also, I mean, to me, I would say, what's the worst that can happen? Pass away or transition, and say, oh well, sure. It's like it's really not that big of a deal, guys. It really isn't. And I really want to start talking about death and transitioning differently. So yeah. So that's ayahuasca. So ayahuasca feels it's a very feminine energy in the sense that you just feel like you're with, you know, the mother of all mothers. And I personally felt very cared for. I felt comfortable, and although it was like very uncomfortable, you know, at some moments, the moment that those moments passed, or you know, I was done with that, you felt really amazing. So it's really like it's almost like, I don't know, if you're like training to be an athlete, right? And then you're going through all the hassle of training and the injuries and maybe getting sick, and you have a goal. You want to run, I don't know, you want to run a marathon by within 10 months, right? And things are not going to happen, you know, the way that you want them to happen all the time. But imagine if you had someone next to you just being there and complimenting you, like in terms of the energy, like when you're down, this person is like so high, or is like really gentle with you, and it's like, okay, it's fine. You're gonna, we're gonna get through this, and it's like taking care of you. And then when you win, you know, that person is even happier for you. And then when you don't feel like working out, that person is like, hey, we have a deadline. So they push you so much that you hate them in that moment. But then after a few weeks, you're like, wow, thank you for pushing me, because I really needed that. You know, in that moment, my state of mind was like different, but I'm so glad that you were there. You were able to see that, and we all know that this is my goal, and I'm so glad and grateful that you were able to push me. It's kind of like that, you know, she will take you through hell, or she will take you through shit that you may not want to address. But if you just surrender to the whole process, and you tell her, I trust you, take me where I need to be, or do the things that you need to do, you know, do your thing, she will do just that. And if it's really uncomfortable, she'll give you a break, and she will love on you so much that you're gonna be like, oh wow, you know, I could go for a round two, and then you go for a round two, and you're like, why did I do that to myself? And then you get out, and you're like, oh my God, I could go for round three, and then round three comes back. So it's kind of like that. So yeah, that's I think that's all the things that I can say about ayahuasca. Ayahuasca is it's definitely cleansing. It feels very cleansing. from, to me, it felt like cleansing in multiple dimensions and multiple lifetimes all at the same time. And I gained so much clarity from this, and it just felt really good, really, really good. So just know that you might, and will most likely, no, actually not most likely, but a lot of people puke or shit themselves. Those are the things that, you know, one of the ways that, what do you call it? One of the ways that you, you cleanse, I guess. It's one of the ways, it's one of her ways to cleanse you and to get rid of the energies. So, and these are the things that are basically embedded into our being as a human. It's like a technology that we have, right? We just don't see it that way, and we don't understand what it all means. But, you know, if in some cultures, when you're getting sick, they actually say you're getting better because something is coming to the surface and it's trying to come out, right? And then it just depends, like, how have you been treating your body? How are you going to treat your body? And what are the things that you can put into your body to kind of make it easier on you or to strengthen certain things, right? So energy just needs an expression. It needs to move. Energy is always moving. And if you're not moving the energy, or if you're not expressing whatever energy that comes out, you know, Mother will do that for you. And so when you're puking, they say that you are releasing energetic stuff. And when you're shitting, they say that you are releasing like toxins that were in your body. But sometimes people will have like colds or like flus, or some people will laugh, some people have orgasms, some people cry, some people shake. Like, it just depends on what the energy needs to express and how it needs to express itself to release that, right? I feel like I could talk about ayahuasca forever, so let me just move on to psilocybin. So psilocybin, psilocybin came into my life in 2020. And this is something that, yeah, I feel like this episode will be a bit longer, guys. Just bear with me. So psilocybin, I feel like it's something that I was made aware of when I was in high school, but I was honestly very afraid of it because I didn't understand, why would someone put themselves through that? Why would you put something, like, why would you ingest something to hallucinate? Like, it didn't make sense to me. And especially since I already was sensitive to so many things that I couldn't really explain yet at the time. You know, I was like, oh, I'm not going to do that to myself. That is crazy. So I would like to mention that ever since that I took ayahuasca, like, her voice has been amplified, and the voices of my people, as I call them, my spiritual guides, have been way more amplified. Like, without, it feels like, you know, if there was a filter, now the filter has been removed, and now it's just like very clear. Like, you know, I'll just hear them in a very clear way, and I know when they're talking to me what they're saying, and it's I'm not doubting that. I'm not like, oh my God, is that me thinking? Is that something else? I know. So she basically is the one who divinely guided me to psilocybin. And at the time, I was still in resistance. And, but, you know, by then I had done a lot of integration, and had translated a lot of my experience into human, you know, understanding, that I was like, you know what? Yeah, okay, let's go. Let's do it. This is the next step. And so I started, the first time I did mushrooms was in May of 2020. And I was so afraid to do them because, again, even if I had done ayahuasca, I was like, I don't know what this is. Like, I don't know what's going to take me. And I still had a lot of fear, you know? And so I expressed that. But because I was aware that, again, it's a plant medicine, it has its own consciousness. Within my intentions, I expressed my fear, and I was like, hey, please be gentle with me. And just want to let you know that I do trust you, but also want to let you know that I'm afraid of whatever's going to happen. But, you know, I surrender to the process. I surrender to the experience, and whatever. I know that somehow I'm supported, and I'm protected. So I took the mushrooms, and it was such a beautiful experience. And listen, guys, for me, when I do mushrooms, I like to, like, I do a whole ritual, okay? Because to me, it's like having a guest of honor, right? And so I want to make sure that my place is clean. I cleansed my house, and I call in certain energies to just be part of it, to partake into the ritual, but also to guide me to feel like comforted and to feel somewhat at ease, right? And so I did what is considered a recreational dose at the time, and it was such a beautiful experience. um, Everything was like so gentle. And so what I would say about psilocybin is that, so since May of 2020, I think I started doing mushrooms. Like, so for me, I don't do them for fun, because it's not like, to me anyways, it's not like it's a fun thing. Mushrooms are very spiritual, and I always have like massive downloads, and it's just like, okay guys, it's almost like everybody was waiting for me to be there, or to come to the office. It's like being a CEO, and then the moment you walk into the office, everybody has like a million questions, or everybody's like, okay, we're ready, like, okay, we're gonna do this and do that, da 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 da. And I thought, well, guys, can I have like one person at a time? Can I speak maybe to the department heads, and then you give me like a summary of what's going on? But it's like, no, everybody just wants to talk to you. And they're just so happy to see you there too. They're like, oh my God, this person, she's here, she's here. And so it's like, they're all excited. And here's the thing that I found with magic mushrooms. In my personal experience, all these co-creative forces, one, they want to open you up to love. Two, they really want to help you, so much so that they keep telling me, even when I'm outside, like I don't need to be, under the influence of psilocybin to hear them now, because we've already established that connection. And so they will always tell me, remind everybody, remind people to ask us for help. And when you're asking for help, that does not mean that you need to do psilocybin. It just means that whether you're praying, whether you're meditating, whether you're walking, whether you're at work, whatever it is, guys, just always take deep breaths and ask for help. Ask to whatever you pray, whatever you believe in, ask for help, because everything within creation, everything within our consciousness, our collective consciousness wants to help you. And so, and also you start, kind of guiding these energies to always be around you. And the more that you create a relationship with them, the more your life will also become easier, because now you're really using your free will, and you're saying, this is the type of energy that I want to attract. This is the type of energy that I want right now. And so it just makes it easier for them too to come to you, because you're like, you're inviting them in, right? Whereas usually if you're not focused on anything, then anything can come. Or if something has had more momentum subconsciously in your psyche, it makes it harder for the positive, let's say, quote unquote, positive forces to come to you. Not that they won't come, it just depends on where your focus is at. And if you're not aware of where your focus is, your subconscious focus, then this is one of the things that you can do to start slowing down the past momentum that you have created and start building a new one that is more positive, more conducive to your own growth, to love, to just like ease, to have a better life, right? And so, yeah, so with psilocybin, with magic mushrooms, I feel like they have really helped me ground some of the teachings, or some of the visions, and some of the information that I got from my ayahuasca journey, ground them into a more human, sorry guys, my phone is ringing in the back, of course. So they really help you ground all those visions in a more human, tangible way. So sometimes, so for me, I felt like ayahuasca was almost like alien, not alien, but alien in the definition that, it's like what the heck is this, right? Not alien is an actual alien, but in the what the heck is this? And magic mushrooms, the entities that kind of govern that realm or that vibration, it felt like they were they can be like the middlemen, you know, it's like, or the translator. It's like, oh, if Mother Aya said, well, what she meant was, hey, maybe you want to buy a plant. And you're like, oh, is that what she meant? Okay. Yeah, I'll buy a plant because a plant feels good. And I've been thinking about plants, but I didn't know like if I should get a plant, if I should buy someone a plant or whatever, if I should start a garden. But yeah, maybe I'll start with buying a plant. That sounds like a great idea, right? So it feels like, it felt, for me anyways, it has felt like that. Now, mind you, I haven't done what people will refer to as a heroic, I have difficulty saying that word, heroic. Let me say it in French just to, yeah, just to sound better. Une dose héroïque. Anyways, that's a heroic dose. And that's, I think it's considered maybe when you do like 7 or 8 grams and more. And that's when some people report having these out of body experiences where you experience the ego death and whatever and whatnot. And again, guys, this is not something that, so because it has its own consciousness, it's not something that you can be like, okay, if I take 10 grams, I'll have this amazing experience, or it's going to be like a scary experience. Go with how you feel. If you're doubting what you're supposed to take, you know, just start small. Start small, and then, you know, build your endurance or build your relationship with the medicine, and ask the medicine, what is the appropriate amount of mushroom to do for you for the next time? Because even if you have 5 bags of 3.5 grams of mushrooms, and 3.5 grams is considered a standard dose, you know, the effects won't be the same from one bag to another. It doesn't work like that. It really doesn't, right? I know some people, or I've heard some people who've done, I think it was like 10 grams of mushrooms, and it didn't have anything, no visions, no nothing. And for me, on like a 1 gram, even like sometimes less than 1 gram, I'm like, whoa, you know, I feel so connected. I don't personally need much, but in the last 2 journeys I did, I finally worked myself up to 3.5 grams. And that's only because I had a very conscious and unconscious fear about it, because I was like, you know what, kind of getting used to this 1 gram, 1.5 max. But 3.5 sounded like way too much. I was like, well, I'm gonna lose my mind. This is gonna be the end of me. And, you know, I don't want to die off of magic mushrooms, like, but whatever, my drama, my scenarios, my entertainment, didn't take it that seriously, because I knew that the moment I'm aware of it, and especially because I'm aware of it, I knew that it was gonna come, it was bound to come, I had to address it. And so that day came. And so, but in terms of experience, honestly, guys, I didn't experience anything different than another journey that I had on a recreational dose, you know, maybe even in terms of length, it kind of was very similar. So for me, and they even told me, they're like, okay, because I was resisting it, especially in the week that they wanted me to do it, I was really resisting it. And so, but they had told me, they're like, you know, you need to get over this, okay? And, you know, they slowly, they're funny little fellas, but anyways, they slowly kind of prepared me to it. And there was one day, like the day that it finally came, I was just like so tired that I was like, you know what, whatever, let's do it. If I die, I die today. It's fine, I'm okay with that. Whatever, it is what it is. And so I did it. It was great, just like any other journey. It was intense, just like any other journey that I've had. But then they confirmed, they're like, okay, we just wanted you to, you know, to break free from that from that wall that you had created. And I was like, yeah, I know. And then they're like, okay, the next one is 5 grams. And I was like, oh my God, can I get a break? Can I get a break though? Okay. And here's the thing, guys. Sometimes it's an interaction. It's an interaction between you and ultimately yourself, different expressions of yourself. But if you want to, you can call them entities, you can call them whatever you want to call them, but ultimately it is an interaction and you have something to say. So even if like maybe you might feel like, you know, I didn't have any choice in this. Yes, you did. Okay. And if you felt that way, then please start reprogramming your mind to say, I had a choice in this, right? And even though it felt like it didn't have a choice in this, well, let me tell you, next time, this is what's going to happen. I have complete free will over my life. I have complete ownership over what I create. And so if this is what I created, whether I created it subconsciously or not, I didn't like it. And so I want this to be like this the next time. Right? You can say that, and they will respect it. And sometimes because of the momentum that you have created, you know, it might just take a bit longer, but you know, at the end of the day, nothing can force you to do what you don't want to do, right? So, yeah, but again, with psilocybin, I would caution people to really create an environment that you feel good in. First of all, you need to feel good in that environment. If you have like socks laying and all clothes laying around, and you have dishes that you haven't done in like 10 weeks, and you know, maybe your place stinks or whatever, maybe that might not be the right time for you to do or to try psilocybin. You really want to make it an enjoyable journey, an enjoyable experience. So prep your outside environment to reflect that. And if you also want to put music, oh yeah, that's the other thing. So the first time I did them, I tried psilocybin. We had a beautiful, oh yeah, I just said we, yes, because I was with someone, but I don't know if that someone wants to be known. So I'll just say someone. So we listened to this amazing playlist that was created from this artist called East Forest. And East Forest created that playlist, I think, for years, but with the guidance of the mushrooms. And so what it reminded me of, it actually reminded me when I was in Costa Rica, in ceremony, and how the music just kind of guided the medicine. It's such a beautiful interaction. And man, I'll definitely have to link up the what do you call it, the East Forest playlist. And I will link up also a few documentaries. Well, for sure there's one that I can think of right now. But if ever I think of other documentaries to that explains whether it's like ayahuasca or the magic mushrooms or cannabis or psychedelics in general, I'll do my best to remember and link them all in the description. And yeah, so if you can have like really great music or try this playlist that I'm talking about, it will be, it's just going to bring you into a different mood. It's just going to amplify your experience, basically. And now, if you're thinking of doing it outside, I mean, follow your own guidance. For me, my first time, I didn't want to do it outside because I didn't know what to expect. And so I wanted to be in a somewhat controlled environment first to start building my relationship with the plant and then take it outside. But I haven't done like a big dose outside. I've done like, again, a recreational dose outside. And again, for me, it's never really just for fun. It's really, it feels like a consultation. And usually they will tell me, okay, you are doing a journey, you're going on a journey today, or you're going on a journey next week or in a few days. And usually the way it works is that I have resistance because I'm like, yeah, but do I have to? I don't want to. And again, it's not forcing me. It's just me and my own dramatic self having this conversation. And then yeah, so I'll go on a journey, and then I will journal what I can remember anyways. And so if you're going to do that for those purposes, or even if it's just like to discover something, I strongly recommend that you get yourself a journal, and you journal right after you're done your journey, or even if you're in the journey but you have the capacity to journal, just write whatever comes on, or whatever comes through for you. If you don't have the energy or the capacity to journal, then record it on your phone or any other device, and then just go back to it once you're done, and kind of read or go over what you've recorded, and try to think about your life and see what the things, like meditate or think about the things that you have come up with, and then see how they relate to your actual life, and see if there's anything that you need to change, or if there's any recalibration that you need to do. And then if there is, just start journaling and come up with a plan that will allow you to do that. And if you don't know where to start, please reach out to me. I'll be happy to help and to assist, right? So, but again, guys, if I need to caution you again, like with respect to psilocybin, some people do have quite intense journeys where they relive or they live, I don't know, so much pain and suffering, like you feel the whole world suffering. And it's not that, again, it's how your soul understands things, and what motivates your soul in respect or in relation to your psyche, and how it's going to help you. It might not feel helpful at the time, but it's how it's going to help you to be a better operating, loving human being. And so sometimes you might get visions, you might get things, you might live things, you might feel things, whether it's in ayahuasca with psilocybin, that don't make sense, or you're like, oh my God, should I go and, start killing all the politicians? No, that's not it, guys. That's not it. You have, if that was your vision, and in your vision it says, kill all the politicians, right? First of all, let's say you wrote it. After that, when you come back to your journal, and then you see this, kill all the politicians, it doesn't mean that you have to go and kill all the politicians. It means that you have to sit with this idea, with this suggestion, and see how it relates to you, right? And how it relates to you, like for you to create a better loving place for yourself, and then for your environment, right? And it's always like about the contrast. It's the contrast that you attract, that you create to understand things from a different perspective, right? So yeah, I think that's about it. That's all I can say about psilocybin. The other thing that I will let you know is that it can feel like it's an eternity, just because it will take maybe about, minimum it will take you like 4 hours. So it could be like anywhere between 4 and 8 hours. So let's say if your journey was 8 hours, it might take like between 30 minutes to an hour to kick in. And then after it kicks in, then it's like, it's like building up to the climax, which can take maybe an hour. And then once you hit that hour, then the peak might feel like 2 hours. It might take 2 hours, but really might feel like 30 minutes, but it might feel like an eternity. And then it's like the phasing out of it that can be long. But going through that whole process again, because depending on your journey, it can feel like you're in it forever. And sometimes you might feel like you're just done with it, but ride the wave. If you feel that way, just take deep breaths, and you can touch your heart if you want to, just to help you focus on your heart, and take deep breath and just say to yourself, I'm okay, I'm supported, I'm protected, I'm loved, whatever comes through, whatever you feel that you need in that moment. And if that doesn't work, ask for help, because they're there to help you. Just make sure, again, you have wonderful and beautiful intentions, and you have maybe invited in some, whether it's like your guardian angels or whatever it may be. If maybe it might be your plants, or maybe it might be the spirits of your cats and dogs, whatever you want to invite in for that ritual, for that ceremony, or for that journey. And just make sure that you call them in. And then, so if you're going through something that's really hard, that feels hard, just ask them for help. Just ask them to just like, you know, drop it a notch or two, you know, just to go easy on you. And again, start less and then slowly go for more. I would personally say that I would not do a heroic dose on my own. I would not recommend that. So if you have questions about that, if this is what you feel you've been called, if you have questions about that, please reach out to me. If you're not already following us on IG, I want to say that I know our handle, and that our handle is in.alignment_. Let's go with that. I think that's what it is, guys. Bear with me. So follow us on IG. If you have any questions, just message us, and we'll do our best to find the, you know, the resources that you might need, or that may be supportive, or that might be helpful. Yeah, so I think I'm just going to close it here. I hope that gave you a little bit of an overview of some of the psychedelic plant medicine. And now just remembered that there was one last one that I didn't mention. However, I am going to bring someone onto this show, or onto this podcast, that is, he's basically like, he's really a professional in this field. That's like his field. And so he will be able to give us more of an understanding of this one particular plant medicine. So on that note, guys, once more, thank you so much for all your support, and for all your feedback, your comments, and thank you for reaching out to us, and thank you for connecting. Thank you for listening, and thank you for, you know, sharing all these wonderful things that we are trying to do, not just for ourselves, but really for the betterment of this whole consciousness, the collective consciousness. And I hope this was helpful. Again, if you have any questions, please write to us, email us, whatever it is that you feel comfortable with, and we'll be more than happy to answer you. And yeah, if you're not following us on YouTube, please follow us on YouTube. If you're not following us on IG, please follow us on IG. And as we grow this, I would personally say, you know, social media is not my reflex. So I'm still working on it, guys. I think I've mentioned this a few times. Still working on it. And I feel personally that I'm getting better at it. So bear with us. My goal is to become really more consistent with all these podcasts, and, you know, the different shows, and whatever, everything that we're doing. So again, thank you so much, and with so much love. Next week, though, please tune in to next week's podcast, because this one will be with, he really feels like a brother of mine. He's really like a brother of mine. In my heart, in my mind, he's my brother. I don't know how he feels about me, but I love him, and that's what it is. And he is my shaman's translator. And I feel like I have a special bond with him, but I was able to record a podcast with him. Now it's going to be like, I don't know, maybe a couple months ago. But I had to work on the editing just because we had a little bit of lag, because he is in Colombia. And but it's going to be a good one. Next week is going to be specifically about his journey into finding the medicine, but also like his life and what it means to be in alignment. But I do want to bring him back and to really talk to us more about ayahuasca, the plant medicine, and the other plant medicines that he works with. He's amazing. Him and his partner are amazing. I love them all. And yeah, so hopefully that will be, no, actually not hopefully. Yes, it will be posted next week. So please, guys, tune in for that. It's going to be a great episode. And on that 10th note, I send you all my love and light and ease. And may you have a better, easier, abundant experience in your human lives. So take care, guys. See you next time.